people use organizing a room or cleaning up or tidying up as a representation of them being more in control of their life.
The millennial generation is as follows.
Welcome to
Surrounded by Idiots
Radio Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the Surrounded by Idiots Radio Podcast with your hosts, Tony Dufresne, PhD, and the lovely voice of millennial, Mariah Perrick from Boston. Cold, again, Boston, Massachusetts. Hey, how you doing, Mariah?
I'm cold, Tony.
Right. You guys have gotten hammered. Not to focus on the weather, but God, you guys are getting hammered. This is like the third major storm that you've had this year, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know where else to put the snow because we are just at capacity here in my house.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, yeah. I'm glad you guys are safe and sound and everything.
We're okay. Yep.
You guys are getting snow days and everybody's having fun. So I want to say a couple things right off the bat. I don't know, and I think you saw this. I posted it today, and we're recording this show on the 14th of March. And I want to make mention of two things. The first thing is today was the walkout, with a school walkout for all the kids. And as much as I think that probably a good percentage of those kids are doing it because then they get out of class, but I think a good percentage of the other students are doing it because they truly believe that something needs to be done, and all the fucking idiot adults aren't doing jack shit. And so I commend them on doing all of that, and I support them in their walkout. First time ever I support anybody walking out of school, but that except for the time I did when I just when it was justified because I didn't feel like going. But but nowadays, so kudos to them. That happened today. And the second thing is that I signed up. I'm going to be doing the March for Our Lives, or March of Our Lives, and I'm going to be doing the Vegas March, and that's going to be on March the 24th, and that's for gun violence. Because as much as I deplore what happened with the election and the fact that we have, it's a mess right now politically. But I think what that did was it spurred people to take action, and I think that's one thing that's been missing. And even me, I'm going to put myself in that category too, because I'm one of those that went things have kind of worked themselves out. But it went so far, pivoted so far to the terrible that that we're starting to do something about it. So we've got a group of us going to the Vegas March on the 24th, and I'm hoping that everybody that are in the States and maybe if they're going to be organized around the world, I hope you guys find that and do that. I think it's really important, and I think if you do, I think it matters. I really do. I mean, it's maybe not directly, but I think the power and the energy. We always talk here about your energy and your force and the power, and when people get together and what that does. I think it'll mean a lot. So I'm not. Were you guys looking into that in Boston?
Yeah. So I have been seeing that there are some marches going on here. Not surprisingly so, because we're in a pretty political little community. Yeah. And a very liberal one. Mm-hmm. And so I would definitely like to go if I can make that work. I went to the Women's March and it was an amazing experience, but I would be lying if I said I am sometimes a little afraid with a baby now, just bringing him into those environments because people are nuts.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean that makes sense.
That's my only thing. I mean, I took him to the Women's March. It was fine. It was safe. It was peaceful. So, but I'm in full support of people going, and I love that kids are taking action. I feel bad that they have to because we fucked everything up royally.
Oh, we're letting them down, and this is what we get, and that's good. And I hope they take that ideology, and I hope they grow up with the ideology, and I hope they make some positive changes, because taking steps back into the Stone Ages, like this administration's been doing, taking us back to the Industrial Revolution, that's not going to work anymore. Our lives are different, the world is different, and we need to move forward instead of backward. And I'm hoping that people have woken up, and we can do something about that. So speaking of action. Today we're going to talk about spring cleaning, and the reason why is because I thought, that every single time March, April comes around, well, especially out here in the West, that it starts to get warmer and things not necessarily thaw out, but we have it's almost like a mental or a psychological shift that starts to happen. You start thinking about spring break, you start thinking about the summer, start thinking about getting your summer bod into shape. And I thought, well, spring cleaning is kind of an interesting thing because people say it a lot. I mean, it's all over the place, and I kind of wondered, is there a thing to that? And actually, there was. So what I'd like to talk about today with you is I want to go over the history, because I thought the history is kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah.
And I want to touch base on a couple things history-wise. And then the second thing I want to do is I want to throw it to you, and I want to kind of get your ideas in terms of what you think they are, or if you believe it, or if you don't believe it, or if you've done it, or if you have any fun stories. And the third thing I'd like to do is just go through and talk about the 3 ways to spring clean your life. The 3 steps. 3 steps. That's it. 3 steps to spring clean your frickin' life. So, and this is for anybody. And actually, of course, most people that listen to the show are more millennial-based or quarter life. I know you guys hate millennials. The term, and I hate the term too. I wish I could think of a different term. If you have one, let me know. But whatever, Gen-wise, adult, anybody from 21 to 37, you're listening now. This is kind of geared towards you. So, the first thing I want to do with Mariah here is kind of go over the history of it. Now, in looking at Wikipedia and looking at different items on the worldwide internet, it indicates that historically it was more of a religious thing, and it actually came from Iran, and it came from the Persian New Year, and which is 13 days of celebrating the New Year, and there's a name for it. I'm not gonna pronounce the name because I'll get it wrong, but they basically, it involves cleaning, or actually call it shaking the house. So cleaning, spending time with family and friends, and that's originally where it came from. There's also something in regards to Jewish custom where they spring clean, linking to Passover, and they have to get rid of all the leaven, like the yeast and all that, because it's ungrateful for them to have that in the house, because as slaves in Egypt, they only ate unleavened bread. So that's how they honor the Jews back in the day, getting rid of all that. And then in Christian customs, of course, the Catholics, right? The Catholics always got to do something. Yep. They clean the church. Supposedly, they clean the church altar the day before Good Friday, and I don't ever remember that happening. I just remember.
Nor do I.
I just remember priests, sneaking the wine. But other than that, I wasn't good enough to be an altar boy, or maybe attractive enough at that time in my life.
You stop.
But speaking of Boston, right? But
speaking of that,
but I was a helper around there, putting the bingo stuff away and all that stuff. So I don't remember doing that, but that's the way it's supposed to. But in terms of America, during the 1800s, according to the Washington Post, the biggest annual house cleaning took place in the spring because the winter left the homes coated with a layer of soot and grime. Because lamps at the time were lit with whale oil or kerosene, which, the heat of the coal or the wood, and then it makes a big old sooty mess. And of course, the doors would be closed, and so that's what you do. You open up everything and let the soot out, which of course could only be done during warmer weather. Which is typically, I say typically, of course, nowadays, God knows what's going to happen with you guys, March or April.
So July.
Yeah, right, exactly. So typically that would be the case. So that's kind of an interesting little historical thing that I found, which, I don't know, that's kind of interesting. I didn't really...
It is. I didn't know any of that.
It kind of makes sense because, after kind of hunkering down, because it's more, I always thought it was more instinctual, because human nature-wise, it's almost like we go into a hibernation. And melatonin is actually, the daylight triggers the release of melatonin, and without the daylight, we have less, and we're less active. We feel less active. We feel less like doing stuff, like major cleaning. And it's more about collecting, and it's more about, I found a note really interesting. It's more about... like collecting and receiving in the wintertime, so like Christmas and stuff, instead of personal space. And so once that alleviates itself, and once people give up on the stupid New Year's resolutions, I'm thinking by the time April rolls around, they're going to want to start trying to figure their shit out and maybe start doing something different, or bringing back their terrible resolution. Listen to the resolution show, everybody. That'll get you back on track with stupid resolutions. So that's the little history, instinctually and then religiously and culturally. Personally, I've always felt more charged up, more like going to the pool, more like heading to Vegas, going to pool parties, more about getting in the gym a little more religiously, not religiously, but religiously, and focusing a lot more on kind of feeling that way. And I don't necessarily go through the house and shake the rugs out or anything. I never really have. It's not been kind of a thing that's been in my brain, but I have recognized it because it seems like there is an energy shift. The sun's closer, the melatonin, all that stuff. So what about you? Is this something that you have bought into in the past?
Well, I'm a compulsive cleaner and organizer anyway, so I feel like every day is
I can attest to that, by the way.
Yeah, it's bad. It's gotten worse as I got older, but so growing up, it's definitely something we did, and I always associate it kind of with Easter because it was like the time when we were getting flowers planted and we were kind of cleaning for the holiday. And I remember I have this vivid memory of the house smelling like Windex and all of the windows being open, even though it was still a little too cold, and the snow finally melting. So, it was definitely something we did in my house growing up. And then I do understand why people do it, and I do like doing it now too. Just kind of that sense of like, I don't actually have soot in my house, but I may as well some days when I look around, just kind of clearing it out. And it makes you almost feel lighter. Like I feel like it's like I'm shedding layers of clothes. I'm shedding, this heavy fog in my house. Everything's lifting.
Do you find it different now in terms of spring and this transition, this seasonal transition? Is it different now being older, being that, an older millennial, having a family? Do you have a different feeling now versus being in college and doing it at that time?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, college, to me, spring kind of implied that we were going to be having a break and we were kind of wrapping things up, and I was about to be launched into summer again and see all my friends. So, everyone's out on the quad and people are finally like, we've all been in hibernation and now we're kind of coming out again. For me now, I mean, obviously I'm not thinking about spring break, but I'm thinking about summer for sure because now I do family trips in the summer. So the closer we get to nicer weather, the closer I get to our trip to the vineyard, which we have booked already. And so to me, it's like, I feel like a kid again. It's like not spring break. Obviously, I'm not going to go hog wild, but I never really did. So whatever. But yeah, now it's like the anticipation of all the fun that's coming in the summertime and in the nicer weather.
Okay. Instead of thinking about going down to Fort Lauderdale and getting hammered and cruising around half naked in the back of a truck, slamming natty lights or something like that.
Right. So, yes.
Because that's like every weekend now instead of just during April. Right, I got you. Right.
Exactly, well, Tony. You nailed it.
That's best part about adulting. You can do that. You can do that anytime you want. You don't have to wait for spring break. That could be a weekend event. See, these are the people that I like to hang out with. So, totally. Right. I can just see Chris driving the truck, woohoo, with some crappy ass country hat on and cut off flannel or something. So I want to go through the 3 steps, and of course the 3 steps that I'm thinking. And please add in whatever comes to your own millennial mind and millennial mom mind, I should say, which is a completely different perspective than mine.
God, yes.
Completely.
Yes.
But these 3 things are really based upon physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. The holy trinity of personal growth and development. Welcome to the show. So the first step is obviously the first step to spring clean your life is the physical part. It's the cleaning and the organizing. And interestingly enough, according to Psychology Today, which, of course, that's a relatively legitimate rag, organizing has been associated with more physical activity and healthier eating and being more generous. So it kind of, that behavior begets the other. It's sort of that kind of leads to, and I can see that. I mean, organizing in a physical realm, to get too philosophical, but organizing in a physical realm is really organizing your life, because people use organizing a room or cleaning up or tidying up as a representation of them being more in control of their life.
Yes.
And that's why it's such a great feeling when it comes around and you start having that energy and get a little fired up and you start moving stuff around and packing up bags to Goodwill and taking. You feel good. You feel refreshed. Because that's a level of control. You're starting to have levels of control. And the most controllable thing in your life is your physical realm around you. Mm-hmm. You know, your ego goes batshit crazy in your head, and it takes over the mothership all the time, and then you feel like you're out of control, and the job, and God knows what happens with that. But in your own house, your own apartment, or your own room, you're able to sort of create those exactly what you want, where you want, how you want it, and that gives us a really good sense of grounding.
Yes. I 100% agree.
And that's why that is a really important part about spring cleaning, and that's why I think spring cleaning is a great idea. I think people should do it every damn week. But that's beside the point. So that's the physical part, the cleaning and the organizing. Of course, the second part's the mental and emotional, because it's not just, again, I just talked about that in terms of the cleaning, in terms of your own personal boundaries and creating levels of control. The mental and emotional part, it has to do with, like, mentally it represents a level of life control. The winters, like I said, the winter and the holidays, they focus on the storing and receiving and not on the personal space. And you kind of evolve out of that from a mental perspective. And you think, and again, I think the thing about the New Year's resolution is important here, because so many people go into the new year and it's a fresh year, it's a new year. It's, for some reason, they think that just because it's January 1st, things are brand new. A lot of people have that notion that that's the case. But then what happens is they brand new, and then they roll into it. They start getting into it. They just go back into their pattern. Mm-hmm. And they try to do the resolution. Most of the time, they try to eat the whole apple instead of taking one bite. And then they choke on the thing. And then they're like, the goddamn apples.
I'm done with that.
Then they throw out all the apples and go to bananas. But and that's the whole point. The point is that a lot of times people get so disappointed, and they try to start off, but they don't start off, and it makes it even worse. And then I think when the spring cleaning comes along, it gives them almost a second chance to reevaluate. Because don't do the same stupid thing and eat the whole damn apple, but reevaluate what you did before 3 months earlier, and take that smaller bite or kind of work at a different angle. And that's why I think mentally and emotionally, I think spring cleaning is a really good idea. The emotionally, I think a really good trick to do, not a trick, but a little tool, is something I actually mentioned in the book, and I have my clients do all the time, is take that split the paper trick, and you want to put down things that are working for you and things that are not working for you in your life right now. And basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to get down to maybe one or two little tidbits that are emotional patterns that aren't working for you anymore. So and that's the whole thing about looking at January, February, or last year versus right now. What's not working for you? What's like one thing that and don't take the biggest one. No. Oh, I don't have a relationship, or I'm bad in relationships. That's a huge ass step to automatically be great in relationships. But a good thing to do would be to take something that's just on the fringe, something that you can take care of in a week or two, and then you can use that momentum, that baby step. You can use that momentum of completing that and move forward into something else. But it's important to take inventory at that time and to take something that you can tackle with that momentum that's happening during spring cleaning, during that melatonin rush. And I think that's important. That's that mental and emotional part. Spiritually, it's about, it kind of meshes a lot with the mental and emotional, but I think it's about grounding yourself in your own purpose and your own meaning. And for me, spiritual grounding is about taking time and space for yourself. And I do the, like I've mentioned many times, I do the meditation every single day. I do Headspace. Headspace is an amazing program. It's an app.
It is great.
It's an app that you can put on. It's either in Android or it's an iOS app, and it's awesome. It's 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And basically, if you look at it for what it is, it's 10 minutes that you just are selfishly having for yourself. 10 minutes. You can't give yourself 10 minutes. That's
nothing. Everyone can give themselves 10 minutes.
That's all it takes. And shockingly, it's not something that all of a sudden you sit there and meditate and you're like, oh, and you're levitating in the corner with your blanket around you. It's about the slow and gradual understanding and shifting in terms of just creating that space that you can hold with you throughout the day, or you can go back to during the day. And it's profound. I mean, it really is. And statistics and studies and all that stuff have shown, research has shown that it does make a difference. It realigns your neural pathways. It's almost an NLP, a neuro-linguistic programming. It realigns your pathways, and it does create a greater sense of self and of grounding in you. And I think that's it, from a spiritual standpoint, I think that's a really good idea to start invest in something. Maybe you want to do stamp collecting or something. I mean, it's totally lame, but or maybe something else to where it's just you, not social media or any of that crap. It's just you, and you just settling in your own space and giving yourself 10 minutes. That's it.
That's so important.
That's all I ask.
I agree. Yep.
Right? That is.
Yep.
So those
absolutely.
So those are my quick 1, 2, 3s on spring cleaning, and why I think it's so important, and why I think everybody should spring clean their life once they feel the urge, which is probably around like now, early April, whatever. It doesn't have to be a certain day, but it has to be when that kicks in, because that seasonal shift is going to happen. Now I have friends.
Absolutely.
I have friends in the Netherlands and up there in Northern Europe, and they're probably listening. And that's probably a little bit different in terms of getting to. I mean, they may not start to feel this way until June. I mean, who knows? But still, it's about understanding that shift will happen, and taking advantage of it, taking advantage of the momentum that is created by the chemical shift in your body in terms of the melatonin release and the days getting longer, and there's more energy out there, and you might. I mean, why the hell not, right?
No, you should. You absolutely should, because, well, God only knows in a place like New England, it's fleeting, the spring and summer. So you really embrace it.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of all that, and I know you talked about vacations and stuff, what have you started anything yet in regards to any cleaning or symbolically cleaning at all?
Yeah, no, I think I have. So I, in terms of the kind of the physical, I told you my space, I'm always neurotic. I think I'm more neurotic about cleaning and organizing now that I'm an adult, and probably because I have a child. And I think I'm in desperate need of control. So that's an ongoing thing. I started Weight Watchers 2 months ago.
Okay.
And that was not that. I am not a vain person. That was because I said, you know what? I need to get control over my emotional eating because I'm a stress eater. And so this is keeping me a little bit more on track and giving me tools to find a way around that.
That's great.
And just get healthier and have more energy. And I'm feeling a lot better having started that. So, that definitely was something that came as spring rolled in a little bit before. I often meditate like you do. I do a lot of, blogging and writing and just journaling. But I think, in general, I think also as a nurse working in pediatrics, this is like the fog lifting off of the sick months, because flu season's coming to an end, the calls and the patient volume is going down. I don't feel like I have to sanitize my hands 76 times a day and like autoclave my body when I get home. That's better. So I think we've definitely thrown some things into motion here already.
Good. See, and it makes a difference, and it matters, and I'm glad that you guys have your ducks in a row, and you're starting to make some magic.
Trying. Yeah.
I mean, why not? Take advantage of it. So hopefully that gives everybody a guideline if they haven't done it already, but sort of puts it in the front of your mind consciously. Do something for the physical, do something for the mental, emotional, do something for the spiritual. Hit all those points, because it's really important if you're going to create the leverage of providing that more control, or having that space control in terms of the physical cleaning. Why not take it a couple steps further? Why not work on your mental, emotional? Why not take one thing out of your life in terms of a relationship or something that you do, or a bad habit, and why not kind of tweak that a little bit? And also, why not take some personal space and create much more of it? And spirituality is not religious. It's two totally different things. Spirituality is a relationship with yourself. And the unity energy, if you want to think about it that way, the energy of everybody, and just the energy of the earth, and kind of how that works together. So take some space and kind of dial yourself into that. I think it's really important. So That's it for this week. Thanks, Mariah. Really appreciate it, and I hope stay warm out there. I know you have your. Looks like you've got your scarf on. I hope you're not.
You know it.
I hope you don't have to shovel again out there. If you want to hear, if you want to watch the video to this, we're doing a video. You can go to javabud.com. You can listen to 127 of the other episodes, the podcast episodes. You can get a freebie. You can also my book, which I'm plugging every damn second that I can. It's surrounded by idiots. There's the book, and if people, and I'm starting to get some good show ideas in. I'm gonna bounce them around, and we're gonna talk about those a little bit. But if you do send something that I use, I'll send you a book. No questions asked, and then you get to enjoy some really fun fireside reading. So thanks again, Mariah. I appreciate it, and we will talk to you guys next week.
See ya.